Here's your wrestling news for January 24th, 2026. Your headlines for today include Sami Zayn quietly slotted for world title match before WrestleMania, full timeline revealed. WWE fans blast SmackDown for laziest booking of the year. Cody Rhodes takes personal shot at Jacob Fatu, gets shut down fast. Drew McIntyre slapped across the face after crossing the line. Randy Orton RKO's hometown hero to close SmackDown in shocking fashion. New champs, MFT defeat Wyatt 6 to capture WWE tag titles. WWE's no-confidence booking of Jade Cargill shows again on SmackDown. AJ Styles added to Saturday night's main event card in match against longtime rival. No accountability, Matt Cardona gets called out on air, and more. A major WWE push for Sami Zayn may have quietly taken shape as WrestleMania season approaches. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, WWE internally discussed and even tentatively planned a World Championship match for Zayn during the lead-up to WrestleMania. Those conversations reportedly took place throughout WWE's recent European tour, during which Zayn was featured heavily in top contender qualifying matches. At one point, the Royal Rumble was floated internally as a possible destination for that title opportunity. However, sources later clarified that the match was more likely planned for a date before WrestleMania rather than at the event itself. Sapp also noted that in recent weeks, WWE's creative direction has shifted in several directions, largely due to Seth Rollins' injury and other creative factors, resulting in Zayn's world title plans being viewed as a secondary priority. That said, Zayn has since qualified for the WWE Championship No. 1 Contenders match scheduled for this weekend at Saturday night's main event. The Montreal native will face Randy Orton, Damian Priest, and Trick Williams in a fatal four-way match, with the winner earning a title shot against Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble. However, based on Fightful's reporting, Zayn's most realistic path to a title opportunity may now come through the Elimination Chamber. If WWE ultimately heads in that direction, it'll be interesting to see how they book both the finish of the Fatal 4-Way at Saturday night's main event and McIntyre's title defense at the Royal Rumble. WWE has subtly laid the groundwork for a potential Zayn vs. McIntyre program over the past few weeks, and this week's SmackDown was no exception. McIntyre has repeatedly emphasized his dominance over Zayn, most recently boasting an 11-0 singles record against him. With McIntyre having just captured the WWE Championship for the first time in 5 years, it would be reasonable to expect him to remain undefeated should the two meet at the Elimination Chamber on February 28th. With his history, crowd support, and recent positioning, the question now isn't whether Sami Zayn deserves another world title moment, but whether WWE will seize it in time. Do you want to see Sami Zayn finally get his world title shot on the road to WrestleMania? Or is WWE risking missing the moment once again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Rock may not have officially confirmed an in-ring return, but WWE is reportedly making an unprecedented push to bring him back, and the financial stakes are historic. According to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter on January 23rd, WWE, along with Saudi officials, are preparing an offer that would represent the largest payday ever for a professional wrestling appearance, specifically tied to WrestleMania 43, scheduled to take place in Saudi Arabia in 2027. While exact figures were not disclosed, Meltzer stated that the offer would surpass anything previously paid in wrestling history. The clear objective is to secure The Rock for what many believe would be his final match. Industry speculation has placed the potential payout in the $50 to $75 million range, though that figure has not been officially confirmed. This report follows comments from The Rock made just days earlier during an interview with Rafi Talks on January 20th, where he was asked directly about WrestleMania 43. While he stopped short of confirming anything, his response suggested positive momentum in ongoing discussions. I can tell you that I'm excited for the brand of WrestleMania. I'm excited for the Kingdom because that is a big show, and I can't wait. In terms of the conversations I've been having, good or bad, well, it's all good. It'll always be good. Despite that optimism, Andrew Baydala has reported that there is a hesitation from The Rock's camp. The concern centers around the risk of injury and how a major in-ring return, especially if framed as a final match, could interfere with his long-term Hollywood commitments. If the movie career really takes off, and he has a great match in Saudi and he's unavailable to do anything else, the guy is getting up there in age, I know there's hesitation from The Rock's camp, Baydala has explained. As of now, it remains unclear whether The Rock will accept the offer. It's been nearly 2 years since his last match, and if he does step back into the ring, WrestleMania 43 could mark one final appearance. If that happens, WWE already has two clear opponents lined up. The first is Roman Reigns, a match WWE has attempted to book for over a decade. The bout nearly materialized heading into WrestleMania 40 before Cody Rhodes entered the picture. That brings up the second option. Cody Rhodes still has unresolved issues with the final boss, who played a major role in complicating Rhodes' road to WrestleMania 40. While the two have interacted since, they've yet to come to blows. With two ready-made programs in place, The Rock's return, if it happens, would headline a historic WrestleMania, marking the first time the event is held overseas. Would you want to see The Rock headline WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia, or should his final match take place in the United States? Sound off in the comments and let us know how you'd book the final boss. Drew McIntyre is riding high as the undisputed WWE Champion, and on this week's SmackDown, he made sure to remind everyone of it, taking things in a deeply personal direction ahead of the upcoming #1 Contenders match. Saturday night's main event will feature a major fatal four-way to determine McIntyre's next challenger, with Randy Orton, Damian Priest, Trick Williams, and Sami Zayn all in the mix. During his promo, McIntyre ran through each potential opponent. He revisited his history with Orton, referencing how they swapped the title back in 2020 before dismissing the current version of the Viper as soft. McIntyre then turned his attention to Sami Zayn, delivering the harshest line of the promo by claiming that Zayn's son was disappointed from the moment he opened his eyes and realized who his father was. The comment crossed a clear line, and it wouldn't go unanswered, as McIntyre would later receive a physical receipt backstage. The promo was brief but effective, establishing McIntyre's ruthless edge as champion while adding real heat to the #1 Contender picture heading into Saturday night's main event. This week's episode of SmackDown took place in Montreal just one night before Saturday night's main event, where a fatal four-way match will determine the next challenger for Drew McIntyre's undisputed WWE Championship. With both shows set in the same city, it was fitting that hometown favorite Sami Zayn opened the night. Zayn addressed the opportunity in front of him, speaking about what it would mean to earn another world title shot. He was quickly interrupted by Trick Williams, who dismissed Zayn as being past his prime and insisted Zayn would not be leaving Saturday night's main event with a victory. Zayn fired back, saying they are on different levels because he's already proven himself among the best, while Williams is still chasing what he might become. Williams was challenged for an immediate fight, but claimed he needed to focus on Damian Priest, which brought Priest to the ring. Priest accused Williams of avoiding him the previous week out of fear. Tensions boiled over when Williams struck Zayn with a microphone. He then attempted to do the same to Priest, but Priest blocked the shot and went after him. Zayn soon recovered and joined the attack, but Williams escaped after shoving Priest into Zayn. While the segment followed a familiar structure, it effectively set the tone for the night. It was later confirmed that Williams vs. Priest would headline SmackDown. Before the match, Priest warned Zayn backstage to stay out of it. Zayn responded that he would only get involved if Williams crossed the line. Shortly after, Zayn had an encounter with Drew McIntyre, where Zayn slapped the champion for taking his son's name out in a promo. In the main event, Priest and Williams traded control in a competitive bout until Zayn appeared at ringside. After a confrontation outside the ring, Zayn attacked Williams, resulting in a disqualification. Randy Orton then arrived and dropped Williams with an RKO before turning around and delivering one to Zayn as well. The match itself was solid, but the finish felt underwhelming, especially coming on the heels of several similar non-finishes earlier in the night. While the chaos further fueled the fatal four-way narrative, it left the closing stretch feeling more repetitive than decisive. With tensions rising and all four competitors now firmly intertwined, the focus shifts to Saturday night's main event. Can Sami Zayn capitalize in front of his hometown crowd? Or, considering the earlier Fightful report, will chaos once again derail his path to the championship? Enjoying the video? A quick like goes a long way in helping us grow and deliver more wrestling news you care about. The WWE Tag Team Championships were on the line as Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis defended against Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, with the looming presence of the Wyatt 6 stolen lantern hanging over the match. 2 weeks earlier, the MFTs captured the lantern that symbolizes the late Bray Wyatt, adding an emotional layer to this title bout. Before the bell rang, Sikoa handed the lantern to Tama Tonga and sent him to the back, preventing the Wyatts from reclaiming it during the match. Once the action got underway, both teams traded momentum evenly. The champions briefly seized control when Gacy delivered a back suplex to Sikoa, followed by a springboard clothesline to Tonga. Lumis added a powerbomb and a splash, but Tonga managed to kick out and keep the challengers alive. The match unraveled into chaos when Tala Tonga returned to ringside with the lantern. Eric Rowan stormed in and wiped out Tongaloa and JC Mateo on the floor, but Tala quickly answered back with a big boot and a clothesline. Uncle Howdy then locked in the mandible claw on Tala and nearly recovered the lantern until Sikoa broke it up with a Samoan spike and reclaimed the symbol himself. With Tama Tonga distracting the referee, Sikoa used the lantern to take out Loomis. Tonga followed up with the cutthroat, securing the pinfall victory and the tag team titles. The win marks Tama Tonga's second reign as WWE Tag Team Champion and the first tag title reign for Solo Sikoa. Meanwhile, Gacy and Loomis's reign comes to an end after 197 days, during which they recorded 6 successful title defenses. The match itself was solid, but the closing stretch leaned heavily on interference and ringside chaos, which took some of the shine off the finish. Still, moving the titles away from the Wyatt Six could open the door for a more competitive and focused tag team division on SmackDown going forward. Do you think the title change was the right call, or should the Wyatts have held on to the gold longer? Let us know your thoughts below. WWE opened the show by airing a backstage segment filmed earlier in the day, revealing that Carmelo Hayes had agreed to put the United States Championship on the line against Ilja Dragunov in a rematch that would kick off the night. This marked their third meeting on the main roster and 6th overall when factoring their NXT history, and that familiarity showed immediately. Both men wasted no time getting physical, settling into a fast, hard-hitting pace right from the opening bell. Dragunov entered the match with a noticeable cut near his eye, reopened from his recent bout against Sami Zayn, but it never appeared to slow him down. As has been the case every time these two stars share the ring, the match was intense, fluid, and relentlessly paced, keeping the crowd fully engaged throughout. Some pairings simply don't miss, and Hayes and Dragunov continue to prove that they are one of them. One standout moment saw Dragunov power Hayes up for a deadlift superplex from the middle rope, drawing a strong reaction and reinforcing just how physical the contest had become. The match ultimately took a major turn when The Miz appeared at ringside and interfered, costing Dragunov the championship opportunity. Once Hayes noticed Miz's presence, he was visibly frustrated, suggesting this interference may not have been welcome. Rather than aiding his former partner, the move appeared designed to position The Miz for a future title match of his own. With Dragunov denied another opportunity and Hayes clearly unhappy with how things played out, the situation leaves several questions unanswered. Where do you see this booking heading next, and is The Miz positioning himself for a US title shot at Dragunov's expense? Cody Rhodes sat down for a backstage interview with Michael Cole to address his upcoming match against Jacob Fatu scheduled for tomorrow night. Before Rhodes could fully lay out his mindset, Fatu interrupted the interview and immediately reframed the situation. Fatu informed Rhodes that he was never the target, maintaining that his attention had always been on McIntyre, even though it cost Rhodes the title. Rhodes didn't let that slide. He fired back by referencing Fatu's past, bringing up his prison record and accusing him of having a long history of poor decision-making without thinking ahead. Fatu responded calmly, saying his past choices shaped him into the man he is today. Still, Rhodes held him directly responsible for losing the title, making it clear that accountability mattered more than intent. Fatu then drew a sharp line between himself and the other Samoan opponents Rhodes has faced, insisting that he's far more calculated and in control than people give him credit for. The exchange was brief but effective. It didn't overstay its welcome, and it succeeded in presenting both men as having something meaningful to gain from the matchup. In just one segment, the stakes of the bout were elevated, no small feat with limited time. The only underwhelming aspect of this angle is that Fatu openly admitted Drew McIntyre attacked him backstage and kicked him in the teeth. Fans were expecting an investigative storyline, and instead it feels like the easiest and laziest creative choice. Did this face-to-face change how you see Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu heading into tomorrow night? Who do you think walks out with the momentum? Sound off in the comments. Chelsea Green was shown attempting to recruit Jordynne Grace into her secret Hervice, with Grace agreeing only so she could be ringside for Jade Cargill's match against Green later in the night. Jade and Jordynne had a brief stare down at ringside, which created an opening for Green to land a suicide dive and briefly catch the champion off guard. Once the action moved fully into the ring and Cargill had a moment to recover, she took control, overwhelming Green in the corner and taunting her with push-ups mid-match. Despite entering as the clear heel, Green had the Canadian crowd firmly behind her, a reaction amplified by Cargill's increasingly dominant and antagonistic presentation. Cargill ultimately picked up the win in just a few minutes, but the match packed solid action into the short runtime thanks largely to Green's effort. Afterward, Grace grabbed a microphone and declared her intention to challenge Cargill after winning the Royal Rumble, unless the champion was willing to defend the title immediately. Cargill declined and walked away, but the direction was clear. WWE is steadily building toward a collision between two powerhouse stars. With everything that's happening between the two outside the ring, it'll be interesting to see how WWE books their first match. Nick Aldis invited AJ Styles to SmackDown for a private backstage meeting where the stakes were made clear immediately. Aldis questioned whether Styles was absolutely certain about his decision, reminding him that facing Gunther would mean putting his career on the line. AJ didn't hesitate and confirmed he was fully committed. The situation escalated when Shinsuke Nakamura entered the scene with a challenge of his own. Nakamura said he wanted to see if Styles was still phenomenal, proposing a match at Saturday night's main event. The match was quickly made official. Styles and Nakamura put on a classic at NJPW's Wrestle Kingdom 10 back in 2016. The pair also faced off on opposite sides of various tag teams for 3 other matches in Japan. Following both their signings to WWE, the company kept them apart for well over a year before locking them in a feud in 2018 following Nakamura's Royal Rumble victory. The pair also faced off at WrestleMania 34, with 5 televised singles matches to follow. Their most recent match came on a May 2020 edition of SmackDown. Nathan Frazer defeated Johnny Gargano in a very good, fast-paced match that lived up to expectations. Both men pushed the tempo and leaned into their strengths, with Gargano's experience balancing Frazer's speed and explosiveness throughout the bout. The finish came after outside interference shifted the momentum. Candice LeRae attempted to remove a lucha mask that Axiom had placed on her earlier, but struggled to get it off. In the confusion, she accidentally struck Gargano instead, creating the opening Frazer needed to capitalize and secure the victory. The ending protected Gargano while giving Frazer a meaningful win, continuing his momentum without making the former NXT star look weak. It also furthered the ongoing issues involving LeRae, Axiom, and Gargano, adding another layer to the story rather than ending it cleanly in the ring. 3 teams competed for a shot at Rhea Ripley and Io Sky's tag team titles, with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Lash Legend and Nia Jax, and Giulia and Kiana James all involved. James, Legend, and Flair opened the match for their respective teams and immediately pushed the pace. Despite only having a few minutes before the break, they managed to pack in plenty of action. Bliss provided the biggest moment of the opening stretch, wiping out the opposing teams with a dive from the top rope to the floor as the show headed to commercial. The match featured a strong mix of veteran experience and newer talent, and it was booked evenly enough that no team felt like a clear favorite. That balance worked in the match's favor, keeping the outcome unpredictable. While the energy stayed high throughout, there were a few mistimed and sloppy moments that slightly took away from the flow. In the end, Kiana James capitalized on the chaos, stealing the win for her team by pinning Bliss after Legend had already connected with her finisher. Kit Wilson and Matt Cardona crossed paths in a backstage segment that strongly hinted at a match between the two being set for next week, adding another intriguing matchup to the horizon. In other SmackDown news, Roman Reigns declares for the Royal Rumble, however, fans were upset by the fact that he didn't appear in person. That wraps up SmackDown for this week. How would you rate the show overall? Which segment stood out to you the most, and why? Sound off in the comments below.